gun, and we have 23,000
excuse me,
kilobytes a second. We're going.
So we live now.
Yep, we're live. Don't worry, I'm pulling it down just a bit.
Adjusting levels.
Yep. What's up, you guys?
We were talking about it a little bit before we went live in the DM, but how about that fucking kill stream shit? You're getting fucking hit with it too lately, huh?
Oh yeah. People are talking about it a lot. It's interesting. Well, I mean, of course, because of the St. Jude stuff and everything.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of hilarious how that's suddenly everybody's just telling me, hey man, you should check out Killstream. It's like, okay, alright, eventually, whenever somebody links me.
I made it a hobby to watch Killstream because I love internet drama, but they've got a really big audience. They appeal to a lot of people, and it seems like they're kind of like they're like a meeting point for YouTube personalities because everyone goes there to fight. It's cool.
Big dick measuring contests.
Yeah, actually so. Some people get outed for shitty ideas.
For just being shitty people.
Mm-hmm. Mostly it's all in good fun, though.
Oh, yeah. Usually it's the ones who are, scared crap.
I mean, to be honest,
I gotta make
when you have a show like that, your whole goal is to entertain your audience. So they've got a lot of latitude for what they can and cannot do.
How is that,
just pretty cool.
How is that not the goal for, every show that exists?
Mm-hmm.
Just entertain the audience, entertain the audience.
Oh, ethics. That sort of thing. Oh, I forgot. That doesn't exist in journalism anymore, does it? I know. Where's my Marx glasses? Oh man, I gotta turn this email down. It was jacked way up. Way up. So did you get a chance to look over the show notes today?
Yes.
We got a big chunk of Korea coverage, which is kind of weird because we haven't heard much about it in the news.
Well, yeah, they've been pushing it.
What else have we got? Some Iran coverage. Not much. Just a little bit of an Iran update, to be honest. I kind of wish there was more news, but I'm sure we're not going to.
Informative Visions, welcome to the chat.
Oop, shit, they joined.
Yeah, we've got people joining us in the chat and everything.
I know. Let's give it another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll get the proper show started. We'll see if we can get some people in here before we get going. Let's see. What else have we got in store today? Let me check my show notes. Oh, we got an update to the Khashoggi case. You remember we were covering that pretty extensively last week, just like everybody else.
Yep.
And it looks like the Khashoggi case might have a tie-in to our ongoing coverage of the war in Yemen.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of neat how these things are starting to kind of, tie together. So hopefully, we can continue to have, ongoing coverage of stories as they develop and then, have that turn into other stories, kind of like how this is going.
It kind of seems like that's the way that it's working so far.
I know, we're still new to this whole news business bullshit, but, we're getting the hang of it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, for anybody who's just watching, if you haven't noticed, yeah, we've got a new, nice-looking, overlay thing going on.
Good fucking job on that, by the way.
You are very welcome. That did not take all that long to make it, but it was just interesting.
I think we're gonna be out of Polytech today. Yeah, I think I'm gonna change my my current Discord account's name back to Dread though instead of Judge. I think I like Dread better.
Yeah, that'd make more sense.
You like my my holiday spirit?
I like the way that was the shit you were pulling with that last night. That was fun.
Our Discord's silly.
Oh yeah, yes it is. All right, I think our ready to get started whenever y'all are. I think we got our guys. Peachtree Tower.
Give me a quick second here. I'm throwing one more jab on the bug before we go in.
All right, well, we're starting with that video. Do you remember?
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
5 minutes.
All right, light it up. That'll be our wind up.
All right, everybody get ready to be wound up.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, 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 and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefit of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Howdy again there, ladies and gentlemen. The Need to Know podcast, episode 21. Coming to you live on this lovely Sunday, November the 4th, 2018. We got Breadbox with us tonight.
Heyo.
And I'm not sure if Political's going to be joining us, but he'll be here in just a bit.
Oh, Daddy's in the house.
Oh yeah, there he is. He's coming in.
He must have heard his ears must have been burning, or he got the Trump signal.
Oh, yeah.
What up?
How's it going there, brother?
You're just on time.
Yeah, man. So, got ourselves all set up with this nice new-looking little overlay and all this crap and stuff, and we hope you enjoy that.
I was gonna say, it can't be a new podcast without Political.
Oh yeah. Not at all. Not at all. We need Political.
I gotta say,
Dude, my
you really
freaking
outdid
dishwasher
yourself.
just lit on fire, man.
How does a dishwasher light on fire?
Wait,
There's that stupid fucking heating element thing, like, that does the drying or whatever, and it fucking, a bunch of plastic fell on it, and it melted through it and, like, lit it on.
Jesus Christ. That sounds...
remember to check your dishes, everyone. Dishwasher safe is important.
Dishwasher
It's like,
safety.
what the fuck? Is that really smoking right now? Is that the dishwasher smoking? What the fuck?
We're all about dishwasher safety here at the Need to Know podcast.
So
But yeah, boss, you fucking killed it, man.
So did you have to turn off your house water supply?
No, it was just the heating element had plastic all over it, so I had to scrub it off.
Oh, I was gonna see if you bought water.
Son, you
Oh,
didn't,
fuck,
son
dude.
of a...
You know, I was actually
At the end, you can't. You gotta. Oh, you can't do it at the beginning. You gotta cut it for the end. Oh,
It's too easy.
I sent my wife to buy water, dude, and she forgot.
oh.
You got trolled. You trolled yourself. That's karma, my son.
Congratulations, you trolled
Right.
yourself. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
All
man.
right.
We're gonna have a fun show today, I think.
Yeah, we got a lot of clips for us, Breadbox, man.
After last week, you know, with all those long clips and just tragedy after tragedy. I mean, really, honestly, it was pretty bad. We had, you know, a couple, you know, attempted bombings and then, you know, a big synagogue shooting. This week has been pretty rough too. There's been a couple shootings here and there. There was a yoga studio that got shot up. Not that we're gonna have any ill will towards the victims or, you know, ignore them or anything. There's just too much to cover, so we had to bump them off the docket for today. But we have a lot of stuff to cover, and as usual, we're gonna be looking at Korea first. We've got a lot to cover in Korea. Basically, we're just kind of watching the developing diplomatic. I don't know how you put this. Diplomatic relations between Korea and the U.S. We've seen before where they kind of throw rhetoric back and forth, and I think we're entering another phase of that Rocket Man romance period. You know what I'm saying? Where they talk about who's got the bigger button.
Yep.
we had some news that South Korea and U.S. were going to start doing joint military drills again. Oh, you know what? I got to shut my window. Give me just a hot second.
Doesn't sound like the Red Baron this time.
Oh man, I think you guys are going to find out that I'm on Air Force One. Damn.
Oh crap! The secret is out.
I got to tell Trump to keep the windows shut. Maybe you should tell me to keep the windows shut. But regardless, we've been kind of watching this developing situation where they've been talking back and forth and trying to come to a decent deal. And I think like we're going to continue to see the drama unfold over the next year or two. But we have the latest pieces of it, and it's really juicy. So let's start digging in.
Jump straight into Korea.
Start with the ongoing international diplomacy with North Korea. While a high-level meeting between the North and the United States is expected to take place next week, U.S. President Donald Trump is again touting his administration's achievements on the regime's denuclearization drive. This time, he chose to highlight the North's decision to invite international inspectors to its nuclear test sites. Our Kim Mok-yeon starts us off.
We've been covering this news agency a lot more
Speaking
lately.
at a campaign rally in Missouri, President Trump said North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has vowed to allow outside inspectors into the Punggye nuclear test site and the Dongchangni missile engine facility, revealing his optimistic diagnosis on the prospects for North Korea's denuclearization.
And
He stressed his administration is doing well to keep the peace with North Korea, and he took aim at the media for not giving him significant credit for doing so.
We would be in a nuclear war right now if the right person didn't come along. So we're doing well.
I think that's
Regarding U.S. sanctions on North Korea, President Trump said his administration is willing to remove them if the regime continues to make progress towards denuclearization. North Korea is under tough international sanctions for its nuclear weapons program, and the U.S. has vowed not to lift them until the regime completely denuclearizes. President Trump also boasted of what he calls his very good relationship with Kim. He said the two sides are getting to a point where North Korea really wants to do something, adding the world would not have to worry about millions of lives being lost in a nuclear war. President Trump is expected to hold his second summit with Kim Jong-un early next year, at least 6 months after their first encounter in Singapore in June. To prepare for the next summit and continue their negotiations on implementing the so-called Sentosa Agreement, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is expected to meet his North Korean counterpart in the coming days. Kim Mok-yeon, Arirang News.
Months after land.
I love the way they report that. By the way, we are going and getting news from all over the world right now.
Oh yeah.
So
a lot of clips.
The agency that we were just looking at is a South Korean news agency.
Rang News.
Yeah, I've been going to them more and more for North Korean updates because they seem to have, they always have clips in English, and they seem to have like the latest news on North Korea. I pulled most of these clips this last night.
They're neighbors, so I mean,
this is true. Do you remember that vaguely British sounding gentleman that we had on last week for North Korea that had the gray hair?
Yes.
Same news agency. So yeah, they're just an interesting bunch. I think they actually cater to the European English speaking market. So we'll see. I think I don't know. I'm still learning more about them. I was Googling them last night and doing a little bit of research. Same about this news agency. We've never watched them before, and they're an Indian news agency. So we'll get so we'll get a little bit of a taste of that. But so basically what we just heard is that they're kind of getting closer and closer to having nuclear inspections done in North Korea so that we can, as an international community, see what's actually going on back there. Because, to be honest, amid all the rhetoric, much as I love Trump, nobody knows what's going on there. Nobody does. Not anybody outside the administration of either country. So that's kind of the status quo right now. But let's go ahead and continue watching.
Let's keep on going here.
Months after a landmark summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un, North Korea has threatened to restart the development of its nuclear weapons program unless the United States lifted sanctions. Pyongyang claims U.S. sanctions are the major stumbling blocks in Washington's diplomatic outreach to North Korea. However, the Trump administration insisted that sanctions and other pressures will remain on North Korea until it dismantles its nuclear program.
Don't you forget, I have a button.
has always demanded a step-by-step process of denuclearization that would include lifting U.S. sanctions along the way.
And it works.
The statement released by North Korea is the latest indication that negotiations over the nuclear program have hit a deadlock. The issue of sanctions has also created a rift between Seoul and Washington. South Koreans have backed the North's call for sanctions under the government, the administration relief. Earlier, speaking at a rally in Missouri, Trump said the media had not given him significant credit for his efforts to keep peace with North Korea. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State will travel to Pyongyang on Saturday to try to further denuclearization talks with Pyongyang. This would be Pompeo's fourth visit to North Korea. The U.S. Secretary of State's visit to Pyongyang comes ahead of a planned second summit between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. In August this year, Donald Trump cancelled Pompeo's visit to North Korea, citing insufficient progress with respect to denuclearization of the North Korean peninsula.
Woo.
Well,
man, that lady, she might need to take speaking classes. I'm not.
Yeah.
She
got the job, didn't she?
Well, she was able to get the job, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
Well, it means that she was able to demonstrate sufficient skill to be able to be hired for the position that she's currently working.
God damn it, boss.
So what'd I say? That's kind of a bit of more saber rattling from North Korea.
Yep. We're
like
gonna see it, man. The back and forth. They're gonna try and get as much out of this as they can.
I'm trying to milk it.
Yeah, dude. Rocket Man nuke button talk. You watch it. It's going to continue happening. So, there's been a lot of discussion about North Korea and what's going on around the world with regards to North Korean, diplomatic talks. But our news agencies haven't really been reporting on it lately because we're obsessed with the midterms. So,
yeah, that's
we're going to go right.
Important thing going on.
Yep. I found some more clips from Orang News. The next one that we have actually is talking about, it's kind of a pocket story with the North Korean diplomatic story. And apparently there's some humanitarian aid activists that are calling for some kind of financial channel with North Korea. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, when I listened to this, immediately my thought was money laundering. So I'm going to let you watch this and you guys tell me what you think.
Humanitarian aid activists held a series of meetings to discuss ways to help out North Korea. As a result of the event in Seoul, the participants demanded opening financial transaction channel with North Korea. Kan Young-woo has more on what the international conference produced.
Can we get them set up with a central bank too?
Humanitarian aid activists said Friday that United Nations agencies, international organizations, and non-governmental institutions should be allowed to open at least one channel for financial transactions with Pyongyang. After an international conference they attended in Seoul for the last 2 days, the activists released a joint statement at a press conference on Friday, demanding that stable remittances should be granted to help aid organizations operate in the north. The U.S. Treasury Department has recently issued a warning against financial transactions with North Korea. Washington also has asked South Korean banks to comply with the sanctions on Pyongyang. According to the head of the Korean Sharing Movement, Kang Young-sik, whose organization helped put the Seoul conference together, Friday's joint statement is basically asking the United States to permit the opening of a financial transaction account for North Korea aid. The activists also called for the UN and member countries to act so that aid can continue in the north and so that supplies are delivered in time and aid workers can get in. Meanwhile, they urged Pyongyang to be transparent and accountable when it comes to receiving aid. About 80 officials from local and foreign governments and non-governmental organizations attended the conference, which was co-hosted by the Korean Sharing Movement, Gyeonggi-do Province, and the Korean office of Germany's Friedrich Ebert Foundation. Kan Young-woo, Arirang News.
So what do you think?
Well, if we're just opening up, if they just open up one channel, then that kind of seems like something that'd be easily monitored for whatever the fuck's going on if somebody decides to try to start laundering some kind of money.
The problem is monitoring where the money's coming from, in my opinion. Sorry, political. You go ahead.
My thought on it is that they're like, hey, look here, where they're really doing other things like using cryptocurrency to do whatever the fuck they want.
That's
look
possible.
Here, not here. Or maybe here, but not here.
I just want to say, by the way, I mentioned it in the text chat, but I love our new lower third, boss.
You are welcome, and that was totally an accident. I
don't care. It's awesome.
Dude, that shit is dope.
Yep, it's cool.
All right,
I dig it. Also, I like the
accidents
meme
and the miracles. Oh yeah, speaking of the meme folder, if anybody who's out there in listening land right now, if you guys want to contribute to that, just at me on Twitter with whatever meme you want, and if it works, we'll throw it up and it'll be there. Let's get a gigantic thing of community-sponsored memes and stuff. Of course, we got we've got memers all over the place with us, so just got to start contributing. Give us links, give me images, and I'll throw them in there, and we'll have them up.
We might have to be kind of picky because we got lots of memes, man.
There's no time to not be picky, man.
Might be a thing. All right, let's go on here. So we just heard about humanitarian aid. Oh, with all the stuff, the weirdness, the upset, the depressing stories from North Korea, everything else, the annoying, geopolitics. There is one really neat story that's coming out of North Korea. I don't know if you guys heard, but there's a development happening with the North and South Korean Taekwondo schools. And I think it's pretty fucking interesting development considering how, closely held, Taekwondo is culturally to, Koreans. So
has the curse finally been
lifted?
I've
not heard of this.
Which curse?
I don't know.
I'm lost.
Bullshit.
All right. Watch this. This is kind of interesting. It's only 30 seconds, though.
Also, after holding talks today, World Taekwondo from South Korea and the International Taekwondo Federation from the North have signed an agreement to establish a joint organization for their integration and the development of the traditional Korean martial art. According to the two sides, the name of the organization and its goals will be decided during their meeting in December. They also saw eye to eye on plans for joint activities at international events, including the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. The two sides have promised to hold working-level talks at least once a month to facilitate their agreement.
Check that out. So basically, North Korean and South Korean Taekwondo are going to become the same body.
It's just going to become Korean Taekwondo now.
Mm-hmm.
Best timeline.
It's kind of a big deal.
Best timeline.
Oh, yeah. So if we haven't seen reunification, we're seeing it all over the place in other areas.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I think we're done looking at North Korea for the day. I've seen a lot of it. We're pretty much up to date at this point. I'm a North Korean expert. You know what I'm saying? I know what Kim Jong-un eats for breakfast. No, I don't. Don't ask me. Please don't ask me. please don't ask me questions and make me prove how dumb I am. Please. Please don't do that.
Okay, we won't.
So let's go ahead over and take a look at Iran. There's a couple news stories that I saw that was kind of interesting. There's kind of this narrative going out about Iran. We've been watching Iran closely. We've seen the protesting. There's pro-U.S. protesters. Mostly, it seems like the government is the problem. Well, here's some interesting news stories that I found. They're both by CBS. And I just think the narrative that they're trying to put out by Iran is interesting. And I want to see what you guys think about it. So let's watch the first one, then we'll kind of talk a little bit about it. And then we'll watch the second one, and we'll recap about both.
Here we go.
With the U.S. reimposing tough sanctions on Iran. The aim is to cripple Iran's oil-dependent economy and to stop its nuclear ambitions.
And we're doing a good job
the first
of it.
round of sanctions
Christ.
sent Iran's currency into free fall. Just last month, inflation topped 30%. This next wave of economic penalties is scheduled to take effect next week and has some residents looking for a way out. Elizabeth Palmer reports from Tehran.
Reza Aydiyun uses his family car as his taxi. He, like everyone else in this city, is worried about the U.S. sanctions.
But people are still waiting what's happening.
Yeah. Family car as a taxi, so he's an Uber?
Not to worry. Yeah.
Do you believe them?
No.
The government's made sure basic services like trash collection
I'm
are
gonna
working.
pause it for a second.
And it's kept.
Pause it for a quick second. I like that you caught that there, because yes, that's what he is. He's a goddamn Uber driver. Literally,
yeah, they tried to make it seem like he's using his family car. Oh my god.
I was talking about this earlier. Like the pure person who delivered my Uber Eats was in their family car with their family. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand what's this is the language. Well, the thing is that they use this type of language so that they can kind of couch it and be like, oh, woe is them. This is the struggling, hardworking Iranian. This is their everyday Joe opinion. So let's continue and see what they have to say. CBS this morning.
Kept gas prices low, about 90 cents a gallon. But in general, prices have skyrocketed.
For cheese, for butter, for jam, for meat, for chicken, everything.
Now Mohammed the butcher says his poorest customers can't afford his meat.
You give them a deal.
Yeah.
The White House may be
There's a joke in
betting
there
that
somewhere.
hardship will provoke the kind of anti-government uprisings that erupted here in 2009. But right now, there seems little appetite for it. A few shops down, Hossein tells us the harder the U.S. pushes, the more people will resist.
Everybody hand to hand
So
for the people.
there's solidarity among the people.
Yeah.
We head for a richer area where we meet the Hosseinis. Disgusted with both the U.S. and Iran's government, Essam, an accountant, is voting with his feet.
I don't know, I want to escape from Iran.
You want to escape?
Yes, we want to leave to France.
But very few get to leave. The majority are trapped by
reminds me of people saying they
politicians
wanna move
and
to Canada.
policies they fear
Yep.
but can't control. For CBS This Morning, Saturday, I'm Elizabeth Palmer in Tehran.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Kind of running a little bit counter to what we've seen the rest of the damn year, huh?
Yeah, kind of.
A little bit, a little weird.
About them,
Just
going against their government and all that crap.
Just something to
Protesting.
consider as we watch the next clip.
Let's jump straight in.
Oh, excuse me.
Damn, man, you gotta.
I'm full of it,
you
my
gotta
dude.
You gotta get a mute button for your mic, man. So that once you
You
feel
know,
those things come
you know what I
on-
gotta do? I'm gonna get a foot pedal. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get a foot pedal and make my foot pedal the push to talk.
Man, I gotta hook my wah pedal that I have down here, and I'm gonna run it through my mic, and so that way I can wah my voice.
Oh my god.
Be even more annoying than robot voice. Anyway, okay, yeah. All right, enough fun. Let's move on.
Punishing U.S. sanctions will be reimposed on Iran starting next week as part of President Trump's decision to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal. That agreement in 2015 led to the release of several Americans
like you
being
wanted to
held
say
by
something
Iran.
else.
But there are currently at least 3 more detained Americans. Elizabeth Palmer is in the capital city of Tehran with what the new sanctions mean for those still being held.
Good morning. The 3 Americans detained here were all arrested in 2015 or 16 on vague charges of either collaborating with or spying for the United States.
Come on, guys.
38-year-old
Obama got these
Shiyue
prisoners
Wang
released.
is a Princeton graduate
Why not do
student
exactly
who's
what
doing
Obama did
research here.
and give them
He's
billions of
serving
dollars?
a 10-year sentence
Come
in
on.
Tehran's grim Evin prison. 82-year-old
Ooh,
Bakr
scary looking
Namazi was in Evin too, but he's now critically sick under house arrest. His son, Siamak, a businessman, is also serving a 10-year sentence in Evin. We spoke with Jared Genzer, a Washington-based lawyer who acts for the Namazis.
There needs to be a private dialogue between both governments to find, on humanitarian basis, a way to do some kind of a prisoner swap.
Iran's foreign minister told me he was pushing for a so-called humanitarian solution too and hinted at a prisoner exchange, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. Meanwhile, it's interesting to note that we haven't heard the kind of blistering rhetoric against the United States with these coming sanctions that we've heard in the past. Instead, Iran is portraying itself as a country that's stuck to the nuclear deal and is simply being bullied by America. Gail?
Elizabeth Palmer in Tehran, thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Again.
Sorry, guys. I tried to put some ASCII art in the channel and, well, it went over a little awry.
Don't see it.
That's because it's terrible. It's too big. Here, let me send you one. You'll like this.
Oh, goodness.
I got one more for you. I got another one for you, boss. I got another one for you. Don't be freaked out. All right. Enough shenanigans.
Still trying to figure out who that is.
That's the TikTok trap. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely not.
Oh, man, let's not talk about TikTok. It's cancer. It's cancer.
Okay. We'll
you know what?
We'll get to that later.
You know what? Someday, if anyone gives a damn about what we have to say, someday in the future, maybe we'll do a meme review. And maybe we'll talk about cancer memes of the past.
Someday.
Word.
All right. So what are we moving on to?
Well, we're still talking about Iran, I believe. Give me 1 second to pull up my show notes here. Yep. Okay. So this whole thing, punishing U.S. sanctions against Iran can impact detained Americans, right? So they're like I said, they're just trying to say Obama did this. Why can't Trump do this? This is what we want. Just do this, and then everybody can make money, and you guys don't have to worry about what could happen to U.S. hostages.
I think we already did that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. That one that we just watched. Moving on, though. We're kind of moving on to
I told you I'm half idiot.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'm the other half idiot. Oh, but like I was saying,
3 of us.
Well, there is, but there can only be so much idiocy. You get what I'm saying? God. Somebody's got to be smart.
Fucked. We're like over 100%.
Shit.
All right. Okay. While we're figuring out what our idiot percentages are, let's move on to this.
Have you seen what's going on with Saudi Arabia lately?
Bits and pieces here and there.
So they're still involved in Yemen war. Khashoggi died. Prince came out talking about how he was going to get justice. Trump talked about how they need to get justice, but he's not going to stop the arms deals. Everyone's trying to get the arms deals to Saudi Arabia stopped so that they can, try to, put the squeeze on the country. Plus, put a damper on Trump's, economic plan, because if he loses that, then, he has to think about lifting some tariffs, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So, where we're kind of jumping in here is there's a new development in this whole story. The Khashoggi family is calling for the return of the remains of the reporter so they can bury him. And this is creating some international pressure. It's kind of interesting. So what this is doing is this is giving the U.S. some leverage with which to try to stop the war in Yemen. So we're going to start with Trump's statement and the VOA news piece on that. And then in the VOA news piece, there are a couple small snippets that we can see of like Mattis talking and a few others. We've got 2 short, under a minute long clips of Mattis talking and the UN Secretary General. And then we're going to go into a closing interview that not really an interview. It's more of a piece from BBC that just kind of like talks about the whole thing. So we got like a nice little wrap up here. So we'll start from the beginning, and then we'll kind of like do some commentary the whole way through.
And let's run right into it.
Friends and family of slain Saudi journalist and U.S. resident Jamal Khashoggi are making an urgent appeal for his remains to be returned for a proper burial.
Our priority is now the same as the Khashoggi family. To have at least part of Jamal's body and to be true to his will, which was to be buried in Medina Munawwara in Jannatul Baqi.
We'll give you a
This is what they want. This is an elementary will for a person, to be buried. We want to make this come true. From here, we are calling the entire world to put the necessary pressure, international pressure, on the Saudi government to find his remains, to be able to bury him, even before finding those who are responsible, before this issue was covered up.
Thursday, the State Department joined the call for Saudi Arabia to locate and return the remains. On Wednesday, President Donald Trump was asked if he felt Saudi rulers had betrayed him by killing Khashoggi.
Not betrayed me, no. I just hope that it all works out. We have a lot of facts. We have a lot of things that we've been looking at. They haven't betrayed me. I mean, maybe they betrayed themselves. We'll have to see how it all turns out.
Some analysts say that the Saudi killing of Khashoggi and their initial denial, followed by shifting explanations of what happened to him, have put Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in a shaky position. Some say the U.S. now has more leverage over the Saudis to pressure them to end the deadly conflict in Yemen, which now has half of its population, 14 million people, at risk of starving to death.
There's no doubt in my mind that the killing of Khashoggi has applied forceful pressure on the Saudis to become accommodating of a ceasefire in Yemen and also making concessions elsewhere.
On Tuesday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced a major shift in U.S. policy, saying the time is now for a cessation of hostilities in Yemen. Cindy Sain, VOA News, the State Department.
Oh boy!
So that clip kind of sets the stage there. You know, the family wants the remains. Trump gets involved after the State Department gets notified. You know, and it kind of rolls on from there. So now we're going to see what Mattis has to say about this whole situation. I think Mattis, I just love listening to him talk because the guy just gets to a point and he says exactly what everybody else is afraid to just say. And he says it in a way that's unoffensive.
The way things should be. Let's see.
The longer-term solution, and by longer term, I mean 30 days from now, we want to see everybody around a peace table based on a ceasefire, based on a pullback from the border, and then based on ceasing dropping of bombs that will permit the special envoy, Martin Griffiths, who's very good, he knows what he's doing, to get them together in Sweden and end this war. That is the only way we're going to really solve this. Improved accuracy of bombs is still a war. So we've got to move toward a peace effort here, and we can't say we're going to do it sometime in the future. We need to be doing this in the next 30 days. We've admired this problem for long enough down there.
I think that is a very poignant statement. Improved accuracy of bombs is still a war.
Extremely.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be remembered for a while. But he's absolutely correct. You know, the guy is always on point. Even when he was a military commander, he was all about, you know, getting the job done efficiently with the least amount of casualties. You know,
just get best way to win a war is without firing a single shot.
If anybody's curious about Mattis, there's this really great video. It's an infographic video that's online called The Mattis Way of War. And I recommend it to everyone. It is highly educational. And if you want to learn a little bit more about our current Secretary of Defense and the way his mind works, that's a really good window into his combat doctrine.
We should do a special viewing of that sometime. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we should. I can put it on the sync tube thing we got going.
All right.
Okay, so the next person we're going to listen to is the UN Secretary General.
We must do all we can to prevent the already dire conditions from deteriorating into the worst famine we have seen in decades. But on the political side, there are signs of hope, and we must do all we can to maximize the chances for success. The international community has a real opportunity to halt the senseless cycle of violence and to prevent an imminent catastrophe.
I think that's the first time we've had that guy on the show since Ban Ki-moon was the UN Secretary General.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think that's the first time we've had him in a clip, too. Because I can't even remember what his damn name is right now. I'm going to have to go look. Man. Talk about shit memory. And terrible loading times. No, I said pause. Antonio Guterres. I knew his name was in the description for the video, so I had to go look because I couldn't remember his name. For some reason, I couldn't remember Antonio Guterres.
Antonio.
He's he seems all right. We haven't seen much about him, so I'm withholding judgment until later.
Yeah, I'm no judgment here. I mean,
all right, so let's watch this wrap-up video about Jamal Khashoggi's death and the impact on the war in Yemen. This basically is a really good at just laying out the situation and what's going on over there for our listeners. So if you watched nothing else, watch this. And by the way, just as an aside, this is the first episode of the podcast where we have our show notes playlist on the channel. So if you want to go back and watch some of these videos on your own without our bullshit, you can. They're all there. So enjoy.
Enjoy.
Word. What does the murder of a Saudi journalist in Turkey have to do with a war in Yemen? Lots of questions are still being asked about the death of Jamal Khashoggi, and now America and the UK are pushing for a 30-day ceasefire in Yemen.
Now we want to see everybody around a peace table.
The war has been raging there for nearly 4 years. Tens of thousands have died, and people are starving. So why are the two connected? Since Mr. Khashoggi's disappearance, there's been widespread condemnation of Saudi Arabia. It's clear they were involved in some way, but we still don't know who ordered his death, and his body still hasn't been found. International powers have been pressing
Notice
for
they
answers.
aren't blaming bin
Until
Salman
then,
anymore.
the American and British response has been somewhat muted.
Yes.
That's because both countries have an important, long-standing
No, this is
strategic
BBC. They
relationship
were
with Saudi
before.
Arabia. And that involves, among other things, selling the Saudis lots of expensive military equipment. Both America and the UK have been increasingly unhappy with the human cost of the war in Yemen, a war in which a Saudi-led coalition is supporting the internationally recognized government against Houthi rebels who are backed by Iran. Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia's crown prince, is seen as the architect of that war, but he's suspected of playing a role in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, so right now he's politically toxic. With Saudi Arabia on the back foot over Khashoggi, this might be a good moment for Britain and the United States to push for a ceasefire in Yemen and a return to peace talks. America and the UK know that Mohammed bin Salman is probably too important to dislodge. They and many Arab countries are worried about instability in Saudi Arabia if the Crown Prince simply disappears from the scene. So don't expect to hear any of Saudi Arabia's allies simply demanding that the Crown Prince step down. But many will be hoping that the Saudi royal family will fix the problem by itself. And that could mean that the Crown Prince is no longer able to act with such apparent impunity.
Thanks, BBC.
Oh. Yep. But notice the language change. We don't know who the killers are. Before it must be the Saudi Crown Prince's personal bodyguards. Like, there's a definite gradient there. You know what I'm saying?
But now suddenly it's not. But now suddenly it talks about body parts being delivered in suitcases and crap.
Do you want to know what I think?
What do you think?
I think Trump's going to make a deal.
Well, I mean, duh. Of course. But I mean,
no,
I'm still of the idea that...
That's the TLDR. The idea here is that Khashoggi died, and it doesn't matter who killed him. Okay?
Doesn't
Are you with me so far?
Okay.
Doesn't matter if the Crown Prince ordered it. Doesn't matter if it happened because of some, interpolitical, espionage act to try to split up the U.S. and the Saudi Arabians. Like the facts are he's dead, right? So it doesn't matter who killed him. Let's even go so far as to assume the prince killed him. Okay, let's assume that because that's what the world assumes. So assuming the prince killed him, he's tied to this. It's blowing up on the world stage. It's becoming a huge problem. What better way to sweep this bitch under the rug and keep the political norms and the inner politics between nations, at a status quo, than to sell people on the end of a war and increase trade and shit like that? I mean, so I bet you, we've got Brexit talks going on right now. I bet you the UK has been pitched the end of the Yemen war and some trade deals because they're leaving the UK. So I'm just gonna put it. I'm gonna write it down in my notepad here. Let me just write down here real quick.
Didn't know we were still keeping notepads.
UK gets. I have Sublime text editor, but I'm working on getting Vim soon. I just haven't done it yet. UK gets trade deal with Saudis for Khashoggi support. Okay, that's what I think. I'm gonna just put that down there. If we report later on that the UK got a special trade deal with Saudi Arabia, I'm gonna wave my flag. I'm gonna say I told you so.
Okay, but
I'm gonna start another one.
But I'm still in the thought that maybe this guy isn't actually dead.
You think he's still alive?
I think so, because we haven't seen anything about a body. We haven't seen any of that stuff.
Here's my thought. I don't think they'll get a body because I think they probably disposed of the body permanently.
True. Could be.
Like,
Still,
you never know.
Interesting thought to entertain. All right, so what are we moving on to next?
Interesting that we should have talked about Brexit. I didn't actually intend on that. But we are about to talk about Brexit.
All right.
So we've got a little short clip from Euronews, which we love for their very concise reporting about some newspaper rumors about Brexit.
All right. All right.
Play it.
The United Kingdom and the EU have reportedly found a solution to overcome the Irish border stumbling block that has been preventing a Brexit agreement. However, Theresa May's office has described the rumours of a deal as mere speculation. In the report in the Sunday Times newspaper, it's claimed the EU has agreed to allow the UK as a whole to remain inside a customs union, while enabling mainland Britain some flexibility in defining its own trade rules. The hybrid arrangement would involve businesses themselves being responsible for regulatory conformity, thereby avoiding the need for a hard border in Ireland. The report claims negotiations are now highly advanced and that a summit to conclude a deal may be announced at the end of this week.
Did Russia...
So, maybe, kind of, we don't know, shit's in the air. That's why they're only getting a minute of our podcast.
Kind of feel like everybody's just kind of waiting, holding their breath to see what goes on Tuesday.
That's really what it feels like, especially after you hear this next video, my friend. Do you remember what was all the rage in America in 2016? And a little bit in 2017. No, my dude. Russia.
Oh, right.
And you know, the United States is a trendsetter. What we do here eventually filters overseas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Play the clip.
Playing the goddamn clip.
Did Russia have a hand at influencing votes or swaying public opinion in Europe? There are strong voices in high places that think so. In the lead up to Catalonia's controversial independence vote, the EU's counter-propaganda unit said they detected an upsurge in disinformation and false claims. Some suspect Russia interfered in the Brexit vote via Twitter bots. While not specifically referring to the vote, Prime Minister Theresa May publicly chastised the Russian government for its, quote, meddling in democracies. She also urged its president, Vladimir Putin, to step back from trying to, quote, weaponize information. German intelligence preempted any cyber attacks by giving warnings and getting political parties to agree to not use bots or paid trolls. Well, they also circulated an article titled, "Russian Hackers Can't Beat German Democracy." There's no definitive evidence, but suspicion that Russia may have been behind the leak of 9 gigabytes of emails from Emmanuel Macron's campaign remains. Well, the French president previously lashed out at Russian outlets, calling them propaganda, and he recently announced plans for an anti-fake news law. Intelligence agencies in Italy are closely monitoring for any signs of Russian hacking or meddling. So far, no evidence has been found, but politicians are on high alert.
Former Prime Minister Matteo Renzi has asked
with a
Facebook and
magnifying
social
glass?
networks for help in keeping the electoral campaign clean. Now, Russia consistently denies all these meddling claims.
with the
Putin
cloth?
called them absurd. And Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said they were allegations that were pulled out of thin air. So what should the EU do? Well, the debate continues.
Gigabyte.
What should the EU do? I don't know, but they're doing whatever Russia wants, so shut up.
Oh man, this is getting crazy.
Don't you love it though? Like, it's such a mirror of our election in 2016. It's so funny. They're like, oh, it didn't work over there. We're going to try it over here now, guys. This brand is definitely going to sell in their country.
We'll be able to make
So
it.
good.
They didn't buy it. These guys certainly will.
So we're going to get away from political news for a second. Have you guys seen what's going on in Italy right now?
I've heard some things about some bridges and stuff washing away.
Venice is having the worst flooding in over a decade.
Oh boy.
So
Shitty.
I thought they were built for that.
You would be surprised. So we're gonna watch the video, and then after the video, I've actually got some footage. It should be no audio pretty much, but it's like drone footage of like the devastation.
Oh boy. That'll be fun. Let's see.
Locals and tourists wore high boots to wade into the flooded streets of Venice this week. They still shopped and sat down in restaurants as business owners tried to bail and pump the water out.
Dude, look at how high the water is. Though.
Venice floods frequently, but officials say this time the tide was exceptional, submerging most of the city for the first time in nearly a decade. Hardest hit, the famed St. Mark's Basilica and Square, where water levels reached nearly 3 feet, making it impossible to see where the land ended and the sea began. A nearby 300-year-old cafe was seriously damaged. The cafe's art director calls Venice amphibious and says, "We need to get used to this." Driving rain and gale force winds have battered much of Italy the past 2 days, pushing containers from ships and sending boats smashing onto shore. A landslide also forced the temporary closure of a highway that connects Italy with Austria, and rivers throughout the country pushed past their banks. Gwen Baumgardner, CBS News.
So how about that? That's a lot of damage, my dude.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a lot of cleanup for contractors over there.
I've got to say, just go ahead and play the aerial footage because we'll just talk over it.
Thousands of trees razed by storm in northern Italy.
It's so ridiculous how much damage there is, my dude. It looks a lot like what I imagine in my area St. Helens looked like after it went off.
Looks like some terrible force, unstoppable force, just passed through this entire area.
Yep. But it's not all bad. This shit happens every once in a while. It's necessary. It's normal. It's nature. Rough for the people. Look at that.
Doesn't kill them, makes them stronger.
That's all mud and debris.
Oof.
That's actually like one of the big, dangers of volcanic eruptions is not so much the lava or the ash. It's the flow, the ash flow from the rain and the mud, the debris. Yep. Look at that. That probably used to be a house.
Just swallowed up.
Slipping all over.
Oof.
This is what happens when you don't plant more vegetation.
Thanks, VOA.
I think it's kind of interesting. They got this guy's footage, and he required them to have his damn watermark on it, and they couldn't get any better footage, so they took it.
Nice.
That's funny.
Don't you love it when it works out like that?
I like it when the little guys get noticed. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit here. We're going into election talk, and it's kind of getting down and dirty in the election talk, but I thought what was really interesting was that we're seeing a bit, again, a mirror of the 2016 election. And we're seeing it from ABC News. I mean, we're seeing it from Obama and Trump is what we're seeing it from. But ABC News is the one reporting the story, so I'm going to give them credit. Let's go ahead
now,
and
though,
this.
to the midterm.
Yep. No. Go ahead and play it.
Terms just 3 days away. The president had 2 rallies yesterday, 2 more today, and he plans to keep this pace up.
But he has some big name competition out on the stump, with former President Obama hitting the trail hard, as well as former VP Joe Biden and even Oprah Winfrey. We have team coverage this morning. We kick things off with senior national correspondent Terry Moran, who's in Indiana, where Trump rallied last night. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Eva. And guys, midterm elections are usually pretty low-key affairs, but this one, it feels like a presidential campaign out here. And for a while, Democrats thought they had the enthusiasm advantage. But if there is a blue wave coming, there is also a red tide. With just 72 hours now ahead of the crucial midterm elections, President Trump and former President Obama are both out on the campaign trail, stumping for their parties. And both are stressing the gravity of Tuesday's vote.
This election will decide whether we build on the extraordinary prosperity that we've unleashed, or whether we let the radical Democrats take control of Congress.
But the stakes this time really are that high. The consequences of any of us staying home.
Is he got his preacher voice on?
News of the booming economy came as a shot of adrenaline for President Trump and the Republicans.
Preacher Obama.
And by the way, how were those jobs numbers today? How were they?
Friday's jobs report shows 250,000 jobs were added in October, and wages are now rising at the fastest clip in nearly a decade. Once reluctant to speak out against his successor, former President Obama is now responding to those record numbers, trying to claim credit for them in Georgia.
When the Republicans start talking now about look how great the economy is. Where did you think that started?
Trump and Obama are sparring on immigration, too, as Trump continues to leverage the Central American caravan as a way to stoke fear prior to the election.
And they want these caravans full of illegal aliens to flood into our country, overwhelming your schools, depleting your resources, and endangering your communities.
They're telling you the existential threat to America is a bunch of poor refugees 1,000 miles away.
Back now with Terry Live. And Terry, looking at these rallies, Obama versus Trump, this isn't something we normally see, a former president taking on a sitting president so aggressively. Will this help or hurt Democrats?
Well, that's a $64,000 question. It's not unprecedented. Harry Truman was pretty ferocious about Eisenhower, but it's rare. The problem for Democrats is there's no other leader who really captures the party's enthusiasm like Barack Obama, and so they're using him to motivate the base. But he also alienates some voters, and there's this, America's a tomorrow country. President Obama's yesterday's man, and so there are risks for Democrats in doing this. Eva?
All right, Terry Moran in Indianapolis, thank you so much.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, so this is kind of turning into a bit of a presidential election race campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since Donald Trump registered after he won. Like, he's been running since he won.
Oh, yeah. Just never stop running. Thanks,
Yep.
Forrest.
This next video that we've got actually goes into this 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 election in Georgia between these two candidates. There's some actual drama that's going on, so I thought maybe we'd take a look at it, especially since they were noticed in this video. Different news agency, same bent though, because it's MSNBC. So let's watch it, see what we think.
Let's go first to Georgia, where within the last few hours, some new accusations by both sides in the race for governor. Democrat Stacey Abrams and Republican Brian Kemp, they are locked in a statistical dead heat, each at 47%. But this morning, Kemp, the Secretary of State, is charging Georgia Democrats with attempted voter hack, to which Abrams fired back. Beth Foo, we got to get right to you on this one. Can you help us clear this up?
They're just hacking each other now.
Yeah, it's been quite a morning here, Alex, hasn't it? I'm standing in front of the Columbia Drive United Methodist Church, where Stacey Abrams is inside worshiping. It's her home congregation.
Where they're
we caught her
busting
coming
people
in
to the
a little while
polls.
ago. She actually showed up at church a little bit on the late side, probably not surprising, because she was dealing with this surprise announcement from the Secretary of State's office. Keep in mind, the Secretary of State is her opponent, Brian Kemp, and his office announced this morning that they are doing a probe of the state Democratic Party, alleging, with no evidence that we can see, that they may have hacked into the state's voter registration system. As you can imagine, that was not something that anybody was expecting. We reached out to the Democratic Party of Georgia for a response to this allegation, and they wrote us back saying this. This is from Rebecca DeHart. She's the executive director. Brian Kemp's scurrilous claims are 100% false, and this so-called investigation was unknown to the Democratic Party of Georgia. Now, Kemp has already come into the crosshairs in some quarters because of what people say is his abuse of his office, purging certain minority voters off the rolls for certain discrepancies in their how they sign their names, basically, on their registration. So that's already been an issue of how he can actually monitor the election and actually be a candidate as well. And this latest allegation about what the Democratic Party might be doing was met with quite a bit of surprise and consternation from Stacey Abrams herself this morning. Let's take a listen.
I've heard nothing about it, and my reaction would be that this is a desperate attempt on the part of my opponent to distract people from the fact that 2 different federal judges found him derelict in his duties and have forced him to allow absentee ballots to be counted and those who are being held captive by the exact match system to be allowed to vote. He is desperate.
Okay, I'm just pausing here just because I just want to make a stupid comment saying that, oh my God, can they get so many goddamn overlays over one video? I mean,
yeah, that's a lot.
God damn, that's way too much.
That's
a lower third, that's a right hand, that's a fucking, they've got banners on the top. There's a hashtag. There's 2 lower thirds, actually. And then they've got the tag for where they're broadcasting from.
And on top of that, we've got YouTube showing up on top of that, too.
Yeah, and she looks like she put her makeup on with a shotgun.
Oh, and then before somebody streams a video from ours and has our crap all over it. Gosh.
Away from his failures, from his refusal to honor his commitments, and from the fact that he is part of a nationwide system of voter suppression that will not work in this election, because we are going to outwork him, we're going to outvote him, and we are going to win.
Now, as you know, President Trump is actually coming here to Georgia today to campaign with Brian Kemp. He's going to be with him in Macon, Georgia. We're in Atlanta now. Macon's about an hour and a half away. That's going to get underway at 4 o'clock this afternoon. One of those big MAGA rallies that President Trump has been doing on behalf of Republicans over the last several days. We'll see if anything gets cleared up at that rally, Alex, about what on earth Brian Kemp is saying and doing 2 days before the election.
Yeah, but I just want to say, in terms of statements that I've gotten as well, they are confirming that no personal data was breached and that the system remains secure, regardless of what they may possibly be investigating here as a possible cybercrime.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching.
Hey, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. I'm going to get in before you turn this off. But hey, check out my other videos. Don't forget, MSNBC. Don't look at my glasses. Hurry up. Do it now.
Sorry, I have no idea what happened there. I think I was having some kind of a convulsion.
I really thought that would turn out different on the chat thing, but it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to. Now there's 2 deformed faces instead of 1 fully formed correct face.
Nice try, though.
You know, I'm always trying to troll myself.
Can't troll yourself. Can't troll anyone else.
The other big one is the what is that? Beto and the other guy down in Texas. Is that right?
Oh yeah, Zodiac Killer. Ted Cruz.
Is it Ted Cruz? I thought Beto was running against. He is running against Ted Cruz. Okay, let's go ahead and watch this. This is about their money in the 2018 midterms and they specifically are talking about Beto O'Rourke because it's the failing Washington Post. But
thanks, Project Veritas. Here we go.
This November's election is more important than any I can remember in my lifetime.
We need
more Republicans. The red wave is happening.
Democrats have broken fundraising records. They have raised $1 billion, and that's the most any party has raised in one election cycle.
This is
Republicans, the candidates
analysis.
themselves just have not raised as much money. They've been lagging behind. What's driving a lot of the Democratic fundraising this year, and this is specifically by the campaign committees, more impressively by first-time candidate campaign committees, is the energy for flipping the House or flipping the Senate. People are just really jazzed about donating to Democrats this year. There's a lot of anti-Trump resistance energy. For the Democrats, people are donating in small dollar amounts, less than $200 at a time. And these donations are important because they can indicate that there's a lot of grassroots momentum for the candidates. Some of these first-time candidates have really stood out as rock star fundraisers, and they're just breaking all sorts of records. On the Senate side, we've seen crazy numbers coming in for Beto O'Rourke in Texas. He has raised over $60 million, which is the most money any Senate candidate has ever raised. But he's still trailed in the polls.
Don't give him a
so
name.
This kind of shows you the limit of how far money can take you.
Vanilla
when we
Obama.
look at the key fundraising moments of this election cycle, we see a lot of it juxtaposed with big national news.
I like
so the healthcare bill last year in 2017, Kavanaugh hearings, family separation at the border, and this is an indication this year that many of these House and Senate races have become national. When we look at the parties, the Republican Party is vastly outraising the Democratic Party. The Republican Party is just so much more organized and better planned and more established this cycle, and you can see that in their fundraising numbers. President Trump is the biggest fundraiser for the RNC. He has already raised more than $100 million for his own re-election campaign, which no other president has done before him this early in the presidential election cycle. And he's also raising a ton of money for the RNC. You can see the RNC and the president really working in tandem to energize voters, energize donors. The most notable outside groups this cycle,
People
the
say that
super
a lot.
PACs that are supporting the candidacies of Democrats and Republicans, are raising a lot of cash on the Republican side. But you're also seeing a lot of big money coming in on the left for Democrats. They have been raising millions and millions of dollars in outside group money, which is also now being spent to run ads against Republicans. So the massive amounts of money that Democrats have raised this year, it's not really an indication that they're going to win on Tuesday.
Oh, and that filthy slime ball.
It doesn't necessarily translate to turnout. And looking ahead to 2020, it really raises a question of whether or not this very widespread Democratic donor energy can be consolidated behind one Democratic presidential nominee. Meanwhile, President Trump is stocking so much cash for his re-election already, and the Democrats will have a wide open primary. So the fundraising success of Democratic candidates in 2018 is not necessarily a sign that they're on a good track for 2020.
Yep. And if you notice before, when she was talking earlier, she's like, you know, money only goes so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a backhanded admission of there's a red wave. So I'm really glad you were quick on the trigger finger with that video, pausing that, because we have to actually switch gears here.
All right.
And we have to actually switch gears in kind of a sad way. And just for those of you that are very, very emotional, you know, this is a sad story. So if you got tissues nearby, it's probably not going to make you cry or nothing, but it's sad. It's also kind of an awesome story about a real American patriot. So let's go ahead and watch about this this guy. I tweeted about him today a little. I used his hashtag on the show. I think he was what was his name? It was Major Brent Taylor. He was the mayor of oh God, what's the name? I think it was Okanagan or Keegan. I forget the name of the town he's the mayor of. But he was activated. He went to go fight in Afghanistan, and he was supposed to come home in January, and he died just like the other day. So this is a brand new news story. This is like a new Twitter hashtag. The family's grieving and everything. There's a couple news stories out about it. I was looking for something to end the show with that wasn't overly political, and this kind of came up. And while this isn't the last clip of the show, it is towards the end. We do have a high note, so I will bring you guys back up after we watch this. But let's take a moment and remember the cost of American freedom.
Right, Matt. So the flag is at half staff here, and residents have been coming by this evening to put flowers down. Now, the news of Taylor's death has left those who knew him in complete disbelief. While on deployment, Major Brent Taylor kept his friends and family up to date on his life overseas.
He'd send pictures and let us know what was going on and the different things he was doing over there.
His latest update:
they were working hard to make sure the people of Afghanistan had a safe election so they could choose who they wanted to.
Just a few days later, Taylor was killed in an insider attack by a member of the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces. The attacker was immediately killed, the Utah National Guard says. It left his friends at North Ogden City stunned.
There's just really no words to express the loss we feel. It's just been a terrible day.
Major Taylor's deployment was set to end in January. After returning home, he was going to continue on his role as mayor of North Ogden. Everyone was looking forward to it.
I forgot this is in your backyard. Did you hear anything local about it?
No, I haven't heard anything. I honestly haven't watched it too closely,
Even while
but
serving his country,
yeah, it's
Taylor
it seemed a little bit weird,
thinking
especially
of how
because
to
he's,
serve
you know,
his
there
community
training
again.
Afghan soldiers as an intelligence officer, and then he gets wiped out by an Afghan officer who then gets taken out by other Afghan officers all of a sudden randomly.
Yeah.
I don't know, just seems weird.
So have you seen this in the news where you're at?
Yeah, it's all over the news for sure. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's on Facebook about it.
That's what I was thinking. It seemed like it was kind of a big story, but it also seemed like it was kind of slipping the national, fucking circuit. So I saw it and decided to toss it in there. I mean, he seems like he was really, really loved by the community.
Yeah, he seemed like a really good dude.
But, anyway, let's keep going.
He started making plans and continued to share his work in Afghanistan.
That's a good
His last text to the council:
greetings from Afghanistan, and he wanted to know how his North Ogden friends were doing.
And Taylor told them about the elections. Major Taylor also detailed the experience in his last Facebook post, which he says at one point, "I'm proud of the brave Afghan and U.S. soldiers I serve with." He ended with, "God bless America."
I think the one thing I'd want everybody to know is how much he loved America and serving. That was his greatest honor, in serving his country.
As we mentioned, Major Taylor leaves behind a wife and 7 children, 7 young children. I'm told his youngest is turning 1 this month.
Oh, damn.
Yep.
Freaking hell, man.
That's an American hero right there.
Tell you what.
Straight up. Got to be a statue or something erected in his honor. Come on.
Tell you what, that dude needs a Patreon. No, not no Ford ass lion freaking.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so that's
it didn't matter how much Stormy Daniels got, though, huh?
Yeah, right. So I'm sitting here, I'm feeling a little bit sad about that. I saw this other thing, and I know I linked it to you guys earlier. I don't know if you watched it, but there was a world record set today. I was talking to my girlfriend about this today, and she didn't quite get it. She's like, "Why the fuck would somebody do that? I just don't understand it." And I guess something
just because.
But if you ever wanted to be the best at something, then you'll understand the drive of this guy. This gentleman, I forget his name, but there is a gentleman today who finished a 157-day at sea swim around the entire UK.
You're kidding me.
Jesus
I'm not kidding you. It was sponsored by Red Bull. He finished his swim about I think it was 20 hours ago or something like that.
Dude.
So I got the live stream video in our feed. You guys can watch the live stream if you want. There's 20 videos or something like that. They did a huge thing. I was watching his physio exam before they went on the swim and everything. This guy is incredibly well built, and I just I'm very impressed. This is the guy that swam the English Channel, if you guys remember back in the day. And so I've got this video queued up to when he gets out of the water. So we'll watch it. It's pretty silly. They talk to him a little bit, and then we'll kind of close up. I think it's a good note to end on. This is probably the first time it's ever been done in human history. He's probably the first man to not only spend that much time like in the water, but swim around that large of an obstacle ever under his own power.
Part fish.
That shit is not.
Let's watch.
That sometimes are against you. Matt told us earlier that the current would be sending him back to London. Oh, and in case you're hearing the whirring,
so look at the graphic
they
on the right.
are the Red Bull Matadors who have just turned up.
Good Christ.
Look at that.
You're fucking kidding me, dude.
No, dude, I heard about that this morning.
Have shown up for Ross Edgley.
Banana.
She says the current's gonna take him to London. What the fuck? He's just in the water? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Not
the real
me,
life
bro.
Aquaman.
Right? Them weird fucking gill fuckers that came from the water. Put it in fucking people.
500,000 estimated calories burned.
I could not believe when I saw this that he was able to actually stand up when he got on shore.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, is the dude gonna just die all of a sudden when he gets home?
I don't know, but he's a big dude, man. Like he is a big guy.
Well, I just did it.
Like, you know how most swimmers, they're kind of just like scrawny otter-looking dudes. This guy looks like he could be a UFC. This guy looks like he could be a UFC fighter.
Huh?
It's insane. I was watching him do a bunch of strength tests and stuff like that. He's nutty.
Pretty tired. Think I'll go home now.
In case you are wondering,
here we go.
In case you're wondering what is happening during this yellow buoy, the swimmers have stopped because this is the moment where Ross officially crosses the finish line and completes his challenge.
And all of a sudden, a shark.
You know, that was something they were talking about. Was that he was worried about sharks and whales.
That is just the kind of man that he is.
Dude, look at how fast he's still going.
He's crossed the finish line.
157 days at sea, and
he'll
he's
be
still
swimming
just
now.
like, you did it.
What are you gonna do now?
His family, his
I'm
friends.
gonna go home and have sex with my wife.
This will be the first time
Tell you
he
what,
steps foot on land in 157 days.
Is that a dry bag that he's dragging?
They know where he is.
Yo, my dude, I'm gonna have to do some more research on this, but I wonder if he had all of his stuff in the dry bag. I'm gonna look it up. Let me look it up while we're sitting here watching this thing. Man swims around UK. What's in his bag? Apparently he had an encounter with a shark.
That's awesome. She's like, alright bitch, you back up, cause I got shit to fucking do today. That dude is a beast.
Damn. Real
He
life
said
Aquaman.
his tongue was falling out due to salt mouth.
Yeah.
And he had to fight off jellyfish.
He's officially finishing
There he
as
is.
we
Look
speak
at that guy, man.
right
He's
now.
a big dude.
Dude, fucking beard and all and shit.
Oh,
like,
he was clean shaven when he left.
He grew that in salt water.
Are you fucking kidding me?
150 days of seal, do that to you, my dude.
Holy shit.
Sorry.
Check out my sea beard, motherfucker.
Seriously, though. Oh my god.
It's funny, I was just drinking a Red Bull.
He did not fucking...
Check that out. Look at the trident, my dude. Look at the trident.
Right.
Let me show you this. This is what he says that his feet look like after 48 hours in the water. Check out this social media post.
That's amazing. Get the trident up, Ross. Get it up if you can. Well, I've not got much.
Boy.
Oh my god. What is that?
That's a trident. Oh, that his feet?
Dude, oh my god. And his hand.
Salt water, my dude.
Because the boat dropped us off quite far.
Look, man, he's even trying to spear people with it. Like, he's still ready to go.
Yeah, that's it.
This is the feet we're talking about.
This might be the most British person in Britain today. Check that out.
Hey, we're letting that guy migrate.
I mean, if he can swim here, he can live here.
Gotta go through the gate though.
Oh yeah.
How you doing? Oh, where's Ross, family, Ross.
Looks like he's got earplugs.
Yep. Got to. Yeah, make sure nothing goes in there.
Yep. He said he was sleeping on the ocean. Like sleeping at sea.
On the sea.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm just thinking fuck that like 8 trillion times.
Okay, time to hit the gym.
That's crazy. I think they ask him a few questions here in a second. World first. You know, he just became basically immortalized.
Basically, yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable feat. How's the tennis going? He won it 100 days. It's been 155 days. But he never gave up. He stayed strong. He stayed positive. Ate a lot of food. 1 million calories in total. But he made it.
Everybody's super excited.
Made history this morning.
So nice.
Alright,
I mean, if somebody tells you they're gonna do that, you just look at them and just like, alright, motherfucker, like whatever, dude.
No, I know, I didn't think. Okay, some love off his mum.
Alright, you guys ready to wrap this up?
Oh yeah. I'm set if you are.
I thought that was a pretty good send-off for the show. We needed a good high note after hearing something sad like we did.
Oh, that was great, man. That was good.
Alright, take us out.
Oh man, we
got some lats.
I didn't buy water.
Yeah. You already beat me to it, you guys.
I tried to get my wife to buy it.
Alright, well, we had a good show tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think we're right in. We found our groove, I think.
Yeah, we got our groove. Thanks to everybody who's joined us in the chat tonight. Shout out to Bella Lou for helping us out, being our chat moderator, of course. Really appreciate that. Thanks to everybody who joined us. Stuart Milson, Mike Columbo, Tenshi D, all you guys. Thanks for joining. And be sure to go out and vote on Tuesday if you haven't already done so. If it's not an early voting state where you live or whatever.
Also, if you see anything, say something. If you see people in large groups, you know, by like getting off public transportation, coming to the voting polls,
anything weird, anything out of the ordinary. Say something.
If your voting
official.
machine says the vote that you didn't put in, say something. Take photos. Take
check
video.
that. Double check your votes before you hit the cast vote button. Do that. Or do paper ballots if you can. Whatever. Just make sure you go out and actually vote. Take friends with you. Make other friends go with you. Tell your other friends to go. Heck, I tried to convince a friend to vote today. He might be doing that too. So,
hey,
gotta do it.
Progress.
But all right then. Hope everybody has an awesome week ahead of you. Probably gonna have some awesome, cool things coming up too in the future. And well, y'all already know how to buy water, so do that. We'll see y'all next week, guys. Peace.
Boy.